Learning tunes, it's a thing which all of us do really. While we may practice scales and arpeggios and whatnot, learning tunes is really the thing that we need to do the most to some extent, because no one gets a gig just for playing loads of scales. No one likes to listen to a load of scales. People want to listen to tunes and fully written pieces of music. And you know, sometimes learning tunes can be quite a difficult thing, but in today's video I want to show you how I learn a tune, and more specifically a jazz standard. So let's get into it. Now first I'll find the original recording, or a good quality recording of the tune, which I know is fairly, you know, accurate to the original as well. I don't want one with too many changes to the original, and then I'll transcribe it out by ear and write the charts out myself. Now you don't need to do that at all. While I do think it is a good step in you developing your ear, and if you want to develop your ear, it's something you should do. I will be doing a video on that in the future. Comment below if you do want to see a video on that, and I'll get to making it a little bit sooner perhaps. But I transcribe and write out the charts. But all you need to do is go and see if you can find the music for the tune that you want on the instrument that you're playing it on. For this, it's bass, and for jazz standards, you can find pretty much anything in real books. If you look up bass real books, it'll all be in there. But if you're a tab reader, that won't really work out for you because they're all in bass clef. And you know, for especially jazz stuff, I do really implore you to learn your bass clef. I will be doing a video on that as well. Again, comment below if you want to see that sooner, because then I'll get it out sooner, about how to read bass clef, as it is incredibly useful for learning jazz tunes. But any tune, you want to find the music for it first. And then something which I think a lot of people do is just go through the whole tune, just put the actual tune on, or they'll just, you know, just play it through and just be like, oh man, this is way too difficult, or things like that. And that's not how you want to do a tune like this. I find the best thing to do is just get the original tune up, or the recording I've chosen, slow it down to probably about half, or if it's a particularly fast tune, maybe even a quarter. Get the music up in front of me, and before I even play the recording, I'll just go through and work out what the best fingerings are. Now I've got tune minority, which is what I'm going to do for today's video, and I'm going to put it up here, the chart. I'll just leave it here for the whole time I'm looking at this. And you know, this is a chart I've written out myself and transcribed, but again, just find the music where you can find it. You can just find it in the real book if you want, and you know, it's right in real book 1, page 273, I think. And you know, so I've got the tune here, and before I even start playing it out, I'm just going to look at it. I'm going to see the first note's a G on that that F minor major 7 chord, and it just goes G, F. And you know, the rhythm is written there as well, and I just get those 2 notes on my fingers. I'm not too concerned about rhythm as well, and then I'll go through it, and you can see that next bit, it's got a D natural, an E natural, an F natural, a G natural, and it goes up to an A. I'm like, I'm probably going to do D on the 5th fret here, E on the 2nd fret, F on the 3rd fret, G on the 5th fret, and you know, A on the 2nd fret, and then you piece it together. I don't need to take you through everything for this tune. I will leave my suggested tab for this tune in the description, along with that version that I've transcribed out myself, because I do think it is useful so you know where my fingers are going. But that's how I'm doing that bit for that second bar, and that's how I do it. So essentially, if it's in bass clef, if it's in tab, it's already in there for you. But if it's in bass clef, or even if it's in tab, just go through it. It doesn't matter about the rhythm, doesn't matter about the tempo, and just see how it fits and see what the best way it is for you. And then I'll play along with the original recording. So here's a little snippet of me doing that. now that I've played it at half speed, I will consider to myself, okay, can I do this faster? If I'm struggling and stumbling, just do it again and just keep repeating until you feel as if you've got it down. But if you are struggling and stumbling over it, I would not say just keep doing it at the same speed. Slow it down even more, or have another look at the score again before you start going through it, and then keep going. Because essentially, if you make all these errors and these mistakes when you're learning a tune, you're actually adding that to your muscle memory, and you're much more likely to make these mistakes again. I know it may feel really annoying of just, oh, I can't get it, and slowing it down is so boring. But if you can play a tune slowly, if you've got the dexterity in there and you learn how to play that tune really efficiently slowly, it shouldn't be too difficult speeding it up. That's sort of the easy bit. Well, yes, the time-consuming one for sure. The hard bit is actually getting the tune down in the first place. And as you learn more tunes, you will get better at learning tunes, you'll get better at reading tunes, and you know, everything will become more streamlined over time. There's a lot of things which can be gained from learning tunes, and obviously they're just fun to learn as well. You're going to be wanting to learn a tune that is great to learn for you, and minorities just come up because I'm playing it with a jazz trio that I've got at the moment. So I wrote it out and, you know, have learnt it. I've already learnt this tune, but I'm using it as a good example for this video because, you know, it's sort of not too difficult, but not too easy in the same way, because I want to pick a tune that's great for as wide a range of people who are going to learn it. Because if you do want to learn the tune, it's a great one. If you're not really a jazz person, you can always find something else. I'm not going to force you to learn this tune, but by all means, learn this tune. It will be in the description for all this stuff. So I've gone through it, and once I've got it to once I've got it under my fingers at half speed, and I'm like, right, I've got all of this down. If I do it once and I'm like, right, I've got all of this down, I'll do it again just to double check, and I'll probably do it 3 times as well. If I get it pristine 3 times in a row, I'll speed it up, and I'll just try it full speed straight away. I won't bother with 3/4 of the speed, because I find if you practice just to half speed and get really good at practicing it to half speed and then go straight to full, oftentimes, unless it's ridiculously fast, if it's like 300 BPM and it's like 150 and we're practicing at half speed, then I'd say maybe take it a little bit more gradually. But see if you can do it at full speed, and if you can, great. That's sort of where your tune learning journey ends in this case. But there is one extra thing which I do think you should do for jazz standards as well, especially as a bass player, but we'll get on to that. So yeah, test it. Can you play it at full speed? If you can't, slow it down until a speed where you can play it at, and then gradually work it up. It will take time. Sorry, that is the only way to get through it. It is just time and effort spent at the bass. I promise, as you do it more, it will become easier and it will get better for you, and you'll enjoy the process perhaps even more. But I still think you should be enjoying it even if you're in those early stages as well. So here's a clip of me playing it at the original speed as well. So you've got the melody learned, and that's typically not something you do as a bass player. You learn a bass line, right? And this is also where I want to get into it with jazz standards. Typically, bass players will just learn the changes. I like to learn the melody first and then learn the changes, and that is my next thing, is learn the changes to this tune. A app like iReal Pro is absolutely fantastic for this, as you can get the changes up there. But you know, you can even write the charts out yourself again for the changes. On my chart, I've wrote the changes out for you. But you know, you can do either or, it works fine, or just find the chords. And often as a bass player, you are playing the chords, and you'll be doing that more, so it does make sense to learn it. But learning the melody is great for soloing, and it makes you understand the harmony of the tune, and when you're walking, you can incorporate the melody into bits of your walking bass line. Essentially, it's great to learn the melody, and I do think it's good just for whatever jazz standard you're learning. If you're learning jazz standards, of course, to learn that melody first, and then you learn the changes afterwards. At least that's how I've always done it. I don't learn unless I've got to do it really in a really quick turnaround, I won't learn the changes before I learn the melody, because I think the melody is incredibly useful. Please learn your melodies as bass players. I'll be doing a video about that if it's not already out already. If it is, I'll put it there. If it isn't, then wait a few days and it will be out for sure. So you want to go through the changes next for a jazz standard. Often, if you're doing pop rock music, you'll just get that one bass part for that tune and then you're already done. But if you're learning jazz standards, then you've got to look at the changes. And our first chord is F minor major 7, which is a bit of an odd one, but it's an F minor triad with a major 7 on the top. So it's not got a minor 7, it's got a major 7 on the top. A little bit of a funky chord, but it's quite a nice one, to be honest. I do quite like the F minor major 7 chord. But yeah, and then you just go through and you continue on. So next is G minor 7, and next is G minor 7 arpeggio. But you do have to understand chord tones for that, obviously, as well. So go and watch my chord tones video and you can check out how to read chord tones. And then from that, you've learnt the melody through, and I've given you some structured guidance on how to do that, and then you just learn the changes really, and you just find out what all the notes are in the changes, and then associate the changes with the melody. So quite often it's great to learn the melody first, as you can sort of match it to the changes and it all really makes sense relative to the changes, because usually for jazz standards the chord changes and the melody are often very, very linked in this tune. They pretty much are. There's a few things which are a little bit odd, let's say, but basically all of it's, yeah, it all really makes sense within the chords. You get a few tunes that aren't really, and they're a little bit quirky, let's say, but they all still work and sound great. But in this case, it is pretty traditional, because it is a pretty traditional standard. But yep, then you learn those changes and you're all good once you've associated them with the melody. A thing I would say is please commit these tunes to memory as well, as if you don't commit them to memory, you've sort of missed out on a final stage. And you know, you want to memorize tunes, especially in something like jazz. Memorizing the tunes is such a key part of how the tradition works, essentially. So memorize those tunes as well. As you memorize more, you will forget tunes less. You will forget tunes at some point and you might want to revisit them and relearn them again. But as you learn more tunes, tunes will become easier to learn and you'll remember them more strongly as well. Again, especially if you associate them with those chord changes for jazz standards, it's the perfect way of doing it in my opinion. But that's all I've got for today's video, so I hope that you all have enjoyed this one, and now you've got a little bit more of a guide on more specifically how to learn jazz standards, but also just how to learn any tune if you want to apply it to anything in a different genre as well. So that's it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.